So a while ago I made a video called Recreating Old School Death Metal. I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot, creating that video, and you guys seem to like it, so since no one asked, this is part 2. Okay, before I start, I would like to add like a little disclaimer. I kind of feel that I shouldn't be even explaining this, but since I saw some comments saying stuff like yeah. Well, guys, I'm not trying to recreate the wheel here. And basically my main take on all of this experimentation is that hypothetically, in a certain way, to an extent, I'm following the steps of producers and audio engineers who actually manage to, in my humble opinion, capture that metal's very soul in the most authentic and positive way. But barely control chaos, that rawness of it all, dirtiness, and then the fucking blood and the rawness and the nasty distortion. But yeah. This is just a romantic homage, a love letter to death metal, and also to all of those bands, musicians, and producers who actually managed to capture, mix all of those albums that we all love so much. Well, on the first chapter of this series of videos, I tried to recreate that very first stage of the Morrison sound, so to speak. My main idea on that video was to create something that could have like the guitars on Human while also having the drum sound on Leprosy, and I miserably failed at that. Yet the result is something that I'm quite happy with, to be honest. And in my humble opinion, it still sounds like a demo version of a single that would have been recorded on that same era. And if you don't want to go and see the entire video, you can just click on this card and it's going to take you to the song that I uploaded here on YouTube. Now, on this episode, I'm going for something quite different. It's still in the same era, let's say late 80s, early 90s, yet continents apart. So for this episode, I'm actually covering the... Well, one, because I love the Swedish old school death metal bands, and two, on a technical way, is not as specific as the Tampa Bay death metal scene. The Swedish old school death metal bands, or their first records, besides the most brutal death metal you could ever hear, it's a very infamous and very well known, the chainsaw guitar tone.
Tune down to C, use an old Boss heavy metal pedal with everything on max. Plug it into the distortion channel of any amp, and that's it.
And it's that very distinctive tone that you get right after you max every single knob to fucking 11. And that very same tone was the result of an experiment that the producer Tom Skokgsberg, he basically managed to get this tone while experimenting for something different right when he was recording Entombed's Left Hand Path. So right after Left Hand Path was released, almost every single death metal band in Sweden went to Tomas in order for him to be able to produce their album. You can basically think of him as the Swedish Scott Burns, so to speak. So obviously I have my references, I have my personal favorites when it comes to songs and or albums, or basically the sound that I'm after, which is something in between Left Hand Path and like an Everflowing stream. Honestly, those two albums have what would be my personal favorite chainsaw tone. So let's get on with this nightmare, shall we? Okay, first of all, it's 11 p.m. It's very hot. Cheers. Okay, I've already said that I was not going to document this, but I wanted something that sounded almost like hardcore or maybe punk or something like that, where it's like natural, no triggers, no nothing, just the bare drums. Oh yeah, you caught me there. I'm not gonna edit this. I'm a sucker for this kind of videos, man, and this judge is like really cool, really like human, and it's like you can see what's happening and whatnot. Anyway, I don't listen to a whole lot of punk. Actually, I don't listen to punk. but I really want to get like some drum patterns, something that I can steal from punk, or maybe like old school hardcore. So I don't know, let's go like punk drum beats. DD drums.
Hey guys, Dave here from DD Drums.
Hello, Dave.
Welcome to a video on how to play 3 must-learn punk rock beats.
Thank you.
Now, the first punk rock beat I'm going to show you, if you learn that one, the others are going to be really easy. So let's get to it.
Okay.
It's that simple.
Alrighty, so it's guitar tracking day, yay! It's the funnest part, honestly, but it's going to be, I think, also the most nerve-wracking, because this is the time where I'm going to be dialing exactly what I'm looking for, that Swedish death metal chainsaw tone, if you will. And as I mentioned before, this time I'm not going to be obsessing too much about copying an exact tone of a specific album or maybe band. Obviously, I do have my guidelines or my blueprints, so to speak. Speaking of which, let's talk about a little bit of what I'm going to be using to get this tone and to capture basically the guitar tracks. So far, the only thing that I have is one reference track that I recorded maybe 3-4 months ago, which is by the time when I was thinking of uploading this thing, and then, well, life happened. And for the tone itself, what I'm going to be using is mainly the mix of 2 distortion pedals. Well, basically one of them is an amp in a pedal, so to speak, and the other one is going to be, you know, a clone of an HM2. So once again, pedal-wise, what I'm going to be using as the main chainsaw tone pedal is the Behringer HM300. And I still believe that this is the one that gets like really close to actually the original HM2 clone. Theoretically, the circuit is the same. Behringer being Behringer, they copy the same circuit of the HM2. Once again, this is like super duper cheap. I think new it's around what, 20 euros or something like that. Obviously it's plasticky as hell and it feels like a really cheap toy, but it does the job. And if it breaks, you can basically grab some change coins and buy a new one. So yeah. Then right after that, as an amp, I will be using the TC Electronic Dual Rec, and this is basically a copy of, or a clone of, a dual rectifier. And actually I did a review of this pedal, so that if you want to hear how this thing sounds by itself, I'm going to be leaving up here a card or a link or whatever, so you can go ahead and watch that video. And then that is going to be plugged straight into a 1x12 Harley Benton cab loaded with a Celestion greenback. And this is where the fun begins, because I'm going to be using a mix of 2 microphones. One of them is, you know, the mythical handy dandy SM57, and then I'm going to be using a ribbon mic. This is actually a pretty cheap ribbon mic. This is by the T-Bone by Toman, and this is the RB100. And actually, I think the price is well below 100 euros. It might be maybe 70, 60 euros or something like that. And I'm going to be using this because I think that this bad boy right here, it's going to be able to bring a bit of beefiness to the tone, since basically the HM2 is not as beefy as mid-rangey, and you know, so in my head and in a perfect world, I'm going to be using the mix of these 2 microphones. You know, when it comes to mic-in cabs or anything, there's not a rule whatsoever. You can do whatever the hell you want, and for me it's what it sounds the best. So let's see, let's play with these 2 things to see if we can get a killer tone. So to resume it all, what I'm going to be doing is getting a DI track with that reference track that I mentioned. The HM2 is going to be right in front of the amplifier, and then right after the dual rec, the line is going to be hitting this power amp, which then is going to be feeding the cabinet. So the first thing that I'm going to do is try to go ahead and place the 2 microphones. There's this technique that that I copied from, I don't remember the name of that engineer. I'm going to find his name, so then I can point you to basically a really cool video. So with this technique, normally what you would do is to shoot a signal of a loop of pink or maybe white noise through the amp, And then you position those two microphones as best as you can. You flip the face of one of those two microphones, and then you start moving them around until the signal gets cancelled, or you can hear a really, really low hiss. In an ideal world, because obviously that's not what's going to happen. What you're going to search basically is for that signal to get as low as possible. And then you would have a signal with the least amount of frequencies being cancelled. So sorry beforehand, because the angle here is going to be horrible and I'm not going to be able to capture as much B as I want of me basically mic-in this thing. But for you to have quite an idea, there are going to be two mics here, the Riven and the SM57. Pink noise is going to come out of the speaker. I'm going to be monitoring that with this Sennheiser closeback through this headphone amp thingy that I have connected with the audio interface. And once that's done, then I'm going to shoot the DI track to see how it sounds, and then at that point I'm going to be able to start messing with the tone. Now I'm going to play the pink noise and I'm going to start moving the Riven microphone. Right now I have the pink noise there in the DAW, so that is currently fitting the cabinet, as you can hear, meaning that it's time to mic this thing. Right before I forget, the SM57 is not going, is not being powered directly by the audio interface, but by this external pre from Golden Age Project Audio. This is the Pre-73 Junior MK2. Basically, these are the settings that I'm using. I'm not using any of the high pass filters, nor the bump that you can do on the high end. On the gain, I have it quite high at 65, and then the output is just there right around noon, while the Riven mic is being plugged directly into the audio interface. I already have the DI track here on Reaper, which is this track right here, and I'm just going to loop it. So this way you're able to hear everything like completely raw, no processing whatsoever, just the DI signal going through the distortion chain. So everything without the distortion obviously sounds like a wet fart. At some point the audio might clip, and I'm sorry for that, but obviously I'm going to be tweaking the settings, so shit happens. It's only with the dual right. It's not quite a lot of difference, it's just a bit distorted. And then adding the HM2. Okay, so now's the time to record the final DI or the final DIs of both guitars. I might record a third guitar track just to have it as an option. You know, later on when I'm mixing, sometimes I like to try to have a different track panned on the middle, have it like a real low volume, just to have a foundation or something that will add more beefiness to the guitar mix. So let me show you the guitar that I'm going to use. If you're not new here in this channel, obviously you might have seen this girl. This is a Kramer, but it's a special. Your typical Super Strat 6 string. It's loaded with a Seymour Duncan Invader. It has one bowling pot, and that's it. I modded this guitar out in some locking tuners, well, obviously the pickup. But anyways, this guitar is tuned to C standard, which means that the tuning would be C, F, A sharp, D sharp, G, C. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this thing. I'm going to add a bunch of plugins that are going to emulate the chainsaw tone. This is only for me to be able to track this, but the only thing that I will be using actually is the raw DI track. Yeah, someone needs to service their guitars. Anyway. Okay, so far I've already managed to give with a setting, and I think this is what I liked the most. This is what the SM57 sounds like. And this is what the Ribbon mic sounds like. And both of them together sound something like this. But those are the settings. I'm just going to print the guitars. There are going to be 6 tracks, 2 for the guitars in the center and 2 for left and right. So yeah, let's just print this guys so then I can have the vocal booth free so I can record some vocals. So guess what? Yeah, we're recording the bass. This is going to be fairly simple. For this song, I'm going to keep the bass quite clean. So yeah, let me just tune this thing and start recording. Okay, I think we're good to go. So honestly, I haven't even thought about the bass lines. I don't have anything pre-written or anything, so I'm just gonna... And I'm not going to be doing anything super spectacular here. I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to do the root notes and maybe following the guitars and playing rhythmically with the drums. The kick here and there. Okay, let's give this a try. I need like a cup holder here. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see a lot with this stand, but just in case, like you can see here the what's the name of this? A screen, obviously. the monitor. I have the lyrics here, and right behind you can see Reaper. So I'm going to be able to control everything from the keyboard that fell. This is my beer, and this is little old me. Okay. Oh, by the way, if this is like the first time that you are in my channel, this is a buckle booth that I made myself with salvaged materials, and I have a video about that. I'm going to put it like somewhere around here. It's quite entertaining, and if you're basically like on the fence of like building your own buckle booth, because I was there and I was like, I really don't want to spend 2,000 euros or dollars on a buckle booth, which is normally what you might spend like buying everything brand new, on a flat that is actually not mine, and then I'm going to have to dismantle that and throw everything away. So I was like, I'm gonna make this with salvage materials, and that's what I did, and the result is quite decent. I'm very, very happy with this. And once I leave, which eventually I will, if I throw everything away, it's not going to hurt that much. Okay, we have the lyrics here. Hey, 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 hey. One thing that I'm trying to remember is the exact style that I used for the other song. If you haven't seen that, this is actually a second part of me trying to recreate the sounds of old school death metal. The Tampa Bay scene, you know, Scott Burns and all of this. There I was trying to do like my own type of, voice. I didn't like a bit of Martin Van Drunen-esque thing, you know, Pestilence, Hail of Bullets, Asphyx, my favorite death metal vocalist by far. Let's give it a try. Hey ho ho. I don't fall heavy. Jesus Christ, I'm not like one line in the song, and look, I'm blooding. Oh god, this is going to be interesting. I start falling heavy, rain descends. I start falling heavy, rain descends. I start falling heavy, rain descends. The earth keeps running. Fuck me silly and sideways. Didn't bought enough beers for this. Man, the earth keeps rumbling shell after shell. Am I to die in this mud-soaked hell? Jesus Christ, I couldn't made it more difficult for me to like sing this shit. Having in mind that English is not my first language. Way to go, Alexander. The earth keeps rumbling shell after shell. Am I to die in this mud-soaked hell? Story time while I die. Just before I die of dehydration and asphyxiation, I just want to like tell a little story why I like this type of style, like boys and I saw Gaia, you know, the Portuguese black metal band, the guys that wear masks. Okay, anyways, I saw those guys live, and honestly I didn't heard anything before that from them. And one thing that they transmitted, at least to me, on that live show, was how emotional his voice was, his projection was, and I really liked it. And nothing to do with the style of voice that I'm trying to do right now, but with like the projection, like that's something that I really like to see on a band, on a live performance, because man, this is music, this is all about emotions. So if you feel something, then the musicians made a good job. I'm making a good job here sweating, but anyways, can you like see how sweaty I am? Yeah, it's like, look at this. My legs are a waterfall right now. Good news is that I'm going to lose like 1 or 2 kilos, so I'm going to have my siren summer body at least. At least I have a beer. And I'm also wearing like a white death shirt, so this is going to be like a wet shirt contest. So if you want to see my titties in a little while, just keep on watching the video. Hell breaks loose, I begin my escape! Not bad, but there was not a lot of projection there. It really sucks when you're the artist, the audio engineer, and the producer at the same time. Am I missing some lines here? I felt his bolt through my rifle while training. Whoa.
we are going to start mixing. Everything has already been organized. I always like to start with the drums. That's me. Some people start with like vocals or, I don't know, guitars. I like to start with the drums. Just a heads up, this is not a tutorial. I'm just showing you how I do this thing. Actually, before I start mixing the drums, I'm going to repeat one step that I did on the first episode of the recreating old school death metal. What we would do right now is to emulate an analog signal path. So, and if you think like plugin wise, the things that you need to do in the order, it might be a bit complicated. But if you go through it with a logical way of thinking, it's like what people were doing 30 years ago. A whole bunch of things out there, paid, free. The previous old school death metal video, I used a couple of free ones. A tape recorder plugin on every single channel except buses and or auxes. And or aux channels. And that's because we are looking this as if this was basically an analog mixer. And normally the buses are, you know, right there in the middle or on the far right or far left of your mixer. So they are not being routed to the tape recorder. They are being internally routed inside the mixer. So first step is to add tape emulation on every single source, on every single channel that has an audio track. Just to see how it interacts, I'm going to mess with the settings. And once I have something that I'm happy with, then I'm going to just copy that plugin to every single channel. I know that we have here some presets, and they are a bit too harsh, but I can already hear that basically this plugin is it's basically compressing that audio signal. Without it, you have, in my opinion, a lot more dynamics. But if you add the plugin, it's basically like compressing everything. So, you know, that's fine. In this case, I really don't want to go ahead and dwell and spend too much time on every single plugin. I just want to select something that works. And so once you have this, the next step would be to add a mixer, a channel strip, or a pre-emulator of some sort. This is going to be done to every single channel, including buses, including auxes. But let's do that. And for this, and this is console. This is just like a pre-emulation. There is some sort of EQ here, like low and high, but we are going to add this to one of our vocal tracks. And let's hear how this thing sounds.
Rain descends, no dawn of what will come descends. Earth gives rumbling shell after shell. And my two die in this monster hell. Lonely as.
And so far this is the channel with the tape emulation as well as with the pre-amp emulation.
Rain descends, no dawn of what will come descends. Earth gives rumbling shell after shell. And my two die in this monster hell.
We basically compressed, darkened and saturated the signal a little bit, which is fine. So basically so far we have those steps already covered, which is emulating the tape recorder as well as the mixing desk. And now what some people do, and which obviously it makes all of the sense in the world, is to create a master track. So this way you don't add like things to the master track. Master engineers don't like that. It makes sense. And it's basically to create another track, route everything to that track, and, you know, repeat the same. And that would be your print track, so to speak.
From bullets shot out of harm's way. Bullets shot out of harm's way. Where I rose on my feet.
I'm going to set this to default.
Rain descends, no dawn of what will come descends. Earth gives rumbling shell after shell. And my two die in this.
You can already hear like a significant change, so yeah, you're right for that. We could leave this as is, but I'm going to add another step, because this is only like the pre-section of a console mixer, whatever. So I want to add an EQ and compression module, so to speak. And for that I have another plugin. Yeah, this is the Frank CS. I don't exactly remember what the hell was this trying to emulate, but I like it and it sounds good.
My two die in this monster hell. Slowly I strive to get away from bullets shot out of harm's way.
And it's really cool because honestly I don't think I'm going to need to add any saturation whatsoever to the track itself. But so far, only by using the tape emulation and the pre-emulations, and I'm getting like a good result here. So
Rain descends, no draw, no avoid, welcome descends. Rain descends, no draw, no avoid, welcome descends.
so it's a bit darker, it's compressed, saturated, and distorted, which is exactly what we are going for. So far so good. So this is the plugin by itself, raw, no processes whatsoever. And now with the tape, pre and mixer emulations. Darker, beefier, saturated. So far we already added the tape recorder, pre and mixer plugins on every single channel. Okay, yeah, I definitely like how it sounds. That doesn't mean that the drums are going to stay exactly this way. Obviously, I know that I'm going to tweak some things here and there right after I add the bass, guitars. So far, I think that this is the layout, so to speak, of the drums that I really want to keep. Next step is going to be the bass, and then guitars, and then vocals. But so far, I'm really happy with how it sounded, and honestly I'm super thrilled that I'm only using, and I really want to keep it this way, that I'm only using the settings of these plugins, that I'm not using any other compressors or EQs, and I'm using basically all of the settings inside these emulations, and I'm really happy with it. Honestly, I really like how it sounds.
Okay, so I'm going to be completely honest. This take is the last thing that I'm recording for this video, and this is because for some reason the file, the screen capture file that I normally get from OBS when I was mixing the guitars, for the life of me I couldn't find it. I don't know what the fuck I did. Only for this video, in between videos, screen captures, audio and whatnot, I had over 100 gigabytes in files. So I lost that capture. I'm sorry for that. And you are currently not seeing my beautiful face because of that. And because honestly, I want to do this as fast as I can. Basically, I'm recording this on Sunday, which is the same day where I'm going to upload this video, finally. Yet, I'm going to take you through what I did, basically all of the plugins that I added, and my train of thought when I was mixing this. As I mentioned before, we have 6 guitar tracks divided into 3 takes. Each take was recorded with 2 microphones, the SM57 as well as the ribbon mic. That's why we have 6 tracks that you can see here. We have 2 tracks that are panned hard left, which are these 2 tracks that we have here, 2 tracks panned hard right, and these 2 tracks that are called auxes. Initially I wanted to pan them center. I wanted to add like a little volume just to have some information there on the center, not having the guitars only on the sides. But while I was mixing, I noticed that having those 2 guitars on the center, even having them at real low volume, was making things way too mushy with the bass and the vocals. So I ended up basically panning them hard left and hard right. And okay, besides those 6 tracks, we have here this track that is called Guitar NY. This is the parallel compression. As you can see, this track is basically at really low volume because that's the main idea of this thing. And this track is there only to add a little bit of foundation. That's basically what parallel compression is about. And let's start with the parallel compression, since we already are playing this track. Basically, you are going to see that this is being entirely and completely raped by the compressor. We are basically compressing right around 16. Is that a 16? Yeah, we're compressing something like 16 dBs or something like that. And besides that, I added an EQ to draw the smiley face thingy. So, because basically we want to exaggerate the lows and the highs just to have all of those frequencies. Just to add, let's say, like, once again, a foundation. So my main idea with these tracks was for them to be as high mid focused as possible, just like you can hear on Left Hand Path. I'm not copying that exact same tone, but basically that is like my blueprint, so to speak. So let's start with each track. I'm going to show you what the sound that they currently have versus what they sound completely dry. So these are the SM57s, left and right. Now the ribbon mics. The whole family together. What you just heard is everything wet, meaning that this has been EQ, all of the guitars are being sent to a guitar bus, and these already have some plugins. Well, I'll talk about this in a second. And then this is being sent to a sub-master bus that the only thing that it's doing is adding more tape emulation, coloration, distortion, harmonics, and whatnot. So let's hear, I'm going to take you through the same steps, only with everything dry, which basically is going to give you the guitars as I printed them. Ribbon mics completely dry. I do feel that they have like more growl, a bit more of treble, while at the same time still being very dark, which is basically the purpose of why I added the ribbon mics there, just to tame a little bit the SM57s. Now that next to the ribbons and SM57s. It's really hard to tell when they are there and when they are not. What you can feel is basically that the oscillation in between left and right after I add these two tracks, it basically like settles. It's almost as if you were adding compression right after you add those tracks. Now let's do the same thing but with the parallel compression. As you'll see here, I also ended up ditching the pre-emulation as well as the channel strip because they were not adding anything interesting the other way around. They were basically taming way too much the chainsaw tone. It was cutting a lot of the treble, a lot of the high end, and it was not working at my favor. I had to mix a good part of the song since the last time that I was recording this. Without recording, basically because my phone, it's old and he doesn't like summer. Right after half an hour or something like that of recording, it gets really, really freaking hot. I've already mixed the song, obviously, and also did a master. So basically I wanted to give you like an idea of what the song went through since the last time that I was mixing while having the camera. Well, something that I definitely did was adding effects. I added the reverbs, delays. For the voice, I ended up, I tried all of these plugins, Audio Reverb, the Dragonfly, as well as the Tall Reverb. All of these plugins are actually free and they are all of them are actually pretty good. But for some reason, I wasn't successful in getting the effect that I had in my head. So I started investigating and seeing through basically a whole bunch of plugins, and then I found this, and I am absolutely in love with this plugin. This is an old as fuck plugin. I think it's from 2006 perhaps, or 2010 or something like that. And it's basically, you know, emulating one of those Radio Shack reverb units that I'm not sure if they are still available. And this is exactly what I needed, because basically this is giving you like a really, really lo-fi, shitty reverb effect.
Slowly I strive to get away from bullets, shells out of harm's way. Slowly I strive to get away.
So it's like a reverb delay-ish thingy. So I'm adding just a little bit of this because I also have a short delay. Yeah, it's like a short delay. It's another free delay that I love so much, and it's like a lo-fi 80s thing that it's called Baby Come Back, and I absolutely love this delay. I've also used that on the other on the first episode of the Recreation Death Metal.
From bullets, shells out of harm's way. Despair.
I also added some automations, some delay automations on the vocals. It's the same unit, but obviously with different settings. And basically, yeah, that's it. I was just, you know, messing around with levels, adding a little bit of compression here and there, taking away some saturation on some channels, adding saturations on other channels, making the vocals sit on the mix.
No doubt of what will come this end. The end from shut off the shell. The mind to darkness, months of hell. Slowly I try to get away from bullets shot out of harm's way. Where I rose on my feet again, but I'm tired, laying near my leg. It breaks loose, hanging in my escape. I alone for a time in my way. So this night will be my last. I'm running out of road, I'm running out of breath. Let's red balls into hate. A strength unknown to my everything. Turn around to midnight flow. The shadow makes my bayonets bleed. To my rifle, I created the life of me, my legend. Once a glory, I was after merely to promise my alley on the rim of the highest bolt. To my rifle, I created the life of me, my legend. Once a glory, I was after merely to promise my alley on the rim of the slaughter indeed. Another burial, another day. I found his bolt. To my rifle, I created the life of me, my legend. Once a glory, I was after merely to promise my alley on the rim of the highest bolt. To my rifle, I created the life of me, my legend. Once a glory, I was after merely to promise my alley on the rim of the I'll die in vain. So I'm moving because I'm blood of bleed. Because I'm blood of bleed.
So there you have it, my tribute to the Swedish old school death metal scene. I think I had equal amounts of fun, frustration. There was this day where I literally almost deleted the entire session because I was fighting the mix. I was just not getting any results whatsoever. But still, I'm very happy with how things resulted, even when having this like mistakes or anything. Those are mistakes that I'm actually learning from. And another cool thing is that actually this experiment will set the base or the foundations or the blueprint for a project that I've been wanting to do for more than 10 years. I actually feel excited and empowered to go forward with this project. But anyways, I need to know your opinion. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this. If this is something that sounds even close to, I don't know, Left Hand Path or like an Everflowing Stream or any of those first couple of albums by any of the old school death metal Swedish bands. And before I forget, if you didn't notice, the song has no solos. And that is because everything that I came up with sucked. Sounded like shit. 20 different takes of solos and none of them worked. So since I really don't like to add a solo just for the sake of it, this is where I need your help. There are two big chunks of the song that I actually wrote thinking of adding a solo there. The first one is here. And the second one here. If you're in the mood of shredding, and if you obviously are a guitar player, I will be leaving a link down below on the description of this video with files so that you can solo on top of those parts. Yeah, I'm also going to be adding information about the scale and the BPM that I actually used. So this way you have everything that you need in order to create a solo on those two parts. But anyways, the only thing that I'm going to need from you is the clean the eyes of those two parts. So this way I can add them to the mix. If I receive enough entries before, then I'm going to select 2 lucky winners that are going to win. I'll try my best to reward you for that. And also, if I have enough entries, I'm thinking of creating a separate video and adding all of your solos, you know, looping those two parts and adding your names and your information. So I'm going to leave all of that information on the description of this video. And if I don't have enough entries, or if no one sends their solos, I'm going to have to select one of the shitty solos that I created. Please don't make me do that. But anyways, that's it for this video. A lot of my time, not because of how difficult it was. I honestly cannot wait to create another old school death metal video. I'm not exactly sure which scene or which part or which whatever I'm going to target next, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be right after summer, or at least once the temperatures go below 30. And needless to say, guys, if you like this type of content, if you like this video, and if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, share this video to every single metalhead you know, and if you don't know any metalheads, just share it with, I don't know, your mother or whatever, or get your brother into metal, and I don't care, just share the video. Another great way of supporting this channel, besides subscribing and hitting that like button, is by buying me a beer. So I'm going to leave a link down below of my Buy Me a Coffee profile. Once again, thanks a lot for watching this video. So it's summer, and I don't know what day is today or what day you will be watching this. Go ahead and get yourself a cold beer, blast some old school Swedish death metal until your neighbors start hating you, till your ears bleed and Satan is summoned. Oh no, that's right, that's Norwegian black metal. So get together with friends, blast some old school Swedish death metal, headbang like you had 18. Yeah. And while you're at it, break your neck.
It's